promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
We're kind of working in the blind here. So when we set up our drilling pattern, our grid pattern, we kind of had to look back and think, okay, how wide was the average heading or mine opening back in the early 1900s?
Despite the challenges, crews are making headway against a difficult underground mine fire. We'll have the latest from Preston County. Plus,
the treatment facility that we're constructing right now is a much larger, more complex treatment facility than what we've used previously.
a massive DEP water treatment project in the Cheat River Basin is moving forward with some help from a first-of-its-kind partnership. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson. Crews have pumped thousands of gallons of firefighting foam and grout into the underground workings of an abandoned Preston County coal mine as they try to smother a fire burning deep inside the mountain. The DEP's Jake Glantz joins us now with the latest.
Greg, crews are making headway, but battling this fire presents many more challenges than other abandoned mine fires in the past. The view from Broken Run has changed significantly over the past 6 months. Smoke is no longer billowing out of the cracks in the ground, causing health and safety concerns for nearby residents. Today, the site is more moonscape than hardwood forest. Steel pipes carrying grout, which is a specialized type of cement that's used to seal off the fire, snake from one end of the site to the other. Heat continues to ripple out from the remaining open boreholes, and the faint smell of coal smoke still lingers over the mountain.
We're about 85% completed with the drilling and grouting phase of the project. As soon as we get finished with that phase, we'll start the earthwork activities, which basically involves some reshaping, recontouring of the topography. Basically, this area, the shape of it's like a wishbone, and it's all been contour mined. And so we're going to backfill as much as we can along the high walls to eliminate air infiltration into the underground mine workings.
That air infiltration is what caused the fire, which had likely been smoldering underground for years, to grow in size and intensity, causing a dangerous situation that required emergency action. But there was a problem.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't have any mine maps. I wish we'd had underground mine maps so we'd had some idea of what to target. So we're kind of working in the blind here. So when we set up our drilling pattern, our grid pattern, we kind of had to look back and think, okay, how wide was the average heading or mine opening back in the early 1900s? And so we basically chose a 10-foot offset. It had nothing to do with our concerns about getting penetration from the flowable fill or the grout, per se in this case. We just had to make sure we're hitting these mine workings. And it becomes even more complicated when the overburden is collapsed and you have these obstructed voids.
Getting to the fire was another part of the challenge. The preferred method, as in this underground mine fire in Whitehall, West Virginia recently, is to actually dig down to the burning coal, dig it out in thin layers, and spread it out to be quenched and cooled. But in that case, the burning coal seam was closer to the surface and the overall size of the fire was much smaller. Broken Run is different.
As the underground mine workings are burning, here in this particular site, the overburden or cover material ranges from 45 to 95 feet in thickness. And as the underground mine fire progresses and moves through the underground mine workings, the coal pillars start to fail. And so you get mechanical stresses induced in the overburden.
Those mechanical and thermal stresses cause cracks, millions of cracks that allow air to be drawn in from the surface and breathe life into the burning coal seam. Heat and pressure from the fire force some of the grout injected into the mine back out through those same cracks to the surface, where it flows like lava. Dealing with the heat, over 1,000 degrees in spots underground, is perhaps the biggest challenge with this project. Crews are attacking it with the specialized firefighting foam.
With the injection of the Class A foam, of course, it helps quench the temperatures, it helps knock them down. Another thing it does, it wets the material. So in these highly fractured areas when we pre-wet that with the foam, that allows the grout when we inject it to flow a lot better. One thing can happen with the grout as you inject it into a hot environment, the heat will drive off the moisture from the grout into what it's called flash setting. It'll set up too early. In other words, you won't get it to penetrate into those cracks and voids that you're trying to get it to penetrate into.
And heat will be a problem going forward because the ground acts as a giant insulator. It could take decades for the heat to dissipate.
So depending on the mass of the material, the depth of the material, and a lot of other characteristics of the material, it retains heat for a long time. So when you're basically trying to establish vegetation on these sites, you've got to get the temperatures down, obviously, and put enough material between you and the heat source that you can sustain the vegetation.
Once crews complete smoothing and backfilling the surface, the entire site will be covered with a 5-foot thick cap of clay soil to finish sealing all the cracks and providing a buffer for plantings. The goal is to contain the fire by starving it of oxygen, to encapsulate it so it doesn't create any more problems on the surface. For Environment Matters, I'm Jake Glantz.
Thanks, Jake. The DEP's Office of Abandoned Mine Lands and Reclamation says it would take roughly $1 billion to take care of all the underground fires burning in West Virginia, and those are just the ones they know about. Every spring, thousands of volunteers fan out across the state with garbage bags, gloves, and safety vests to help clean up trash from West Virginia's roadsides. More than 4,000 volunteers turned out for last year's cleanup, clearing roughly 1,500 miles of roadways. Since the program began in 1988, volunteers have cleared nearly 70,000 miles of roadways. Volunteers must be at least 12 years old. Individuals and groups can register to pick up trash along almost any state-maintained road. Currently, more than 40,000 volunteers from over 1,400 different organizations participate in the Adopt a Highway program. The annual cleanup is co-sponsored by the DEP and the State Division of Highways. Volunteers are also encouraged to recycle what they pick up whenever possible. In fact, every year volunteers average about 10,000 pounds of glass, 8,000 pounds of aluminum, and 5,000 pounds of plastic recycled each year. And if you're going to talk the talk, you better be ready to walk the walk. That's the idea behind a cleanup organized here in Charleston. The DEP's Brianna Hickman joins us now with more.
Greg, the DEP has adopted a 2-mile stretch of McCorkle Avenue and every year works to help keep it clean. With bags and litter pickers, volunteers from the DEP's Charleston headquarters fanned out in groups of 2s and 3s, gathering up everything from cigarette butts and fast food wrappers to an abandoned tire.
We try to do this at least once a year, preferably twice if we can organize it. And we just invite the whole building along with the PEIA and Solid Waste Management to come out and help us clean up the roadways.
It took less than 2 hours to gather up 32 bags of trash, along with that tire and a piece of car bumper. The goal of the Adopt a Highway program is to improve the quality of our shared environment by encouraging public involvement in eliminating highway litter. Volunteers at the DEP cleanup say they feel like it's important to participate.
Well, we offer environmental protection, so we should set by example.
Oh yeah, you gotta do. You can't just say, well, I want you to go clean up. You gotta participate. You gotta show people, you gotta show, the other people you work with that, you're not just in it for the words, you're in it for the action.
Another advantage of the Adopt a Highway program is that it saves taxpayers money. While the DEP provides the bags and gloves and arranges for the pickup and disposal of all the trash, over the years, volunteers have saved the state hundreds of thousands of dollars in labor. Program organizers say volunteers are the backbone of the program. For Environment Matters, I'm Brianna Hickman.
Thanks, Brianna. Volunteers from the DEP's Fayetteville office also held a cleanup that netted an additional 17 bags of trash. If you'd like to find out more about the program or how your group or organization can help, visit our website, dep.wv.gov. Our friends at Orsanco are asking participants at this year's Ohio River Sweep to tweet the sweep. Using the hashtag OHIORIVERSWEEP, volunteers are asked to take a photo of themselves at their cleanup site and post it to their favorite social media site, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. The Ohio River Sweep covers more than 3,000 miles of Ohio River shoreline and many of its tributaries. It's the largest one-day volunteer cleanup event in the country. The DEP is a member organization and is coordinating the cleanup efforts on the West Virginia shoreline. To find out more about Orsanco and the work they do, visit their website, orsanco.org. You can also follow them on Facebook. The Chi River watershed has been heavily impacted by acid mine drainage from abandoned mines for years, but recent efforts by the DEP and local watershed groups have been showing slow but steady results, treating acid mine drainage at its source and bringing sections of the Chi River watershed back to life. Now a new partnership with an energy company is looking to bring more miles of stream back from the dead. The DEP's Mike Huff has more.
Do not attempt to adjust your set. The water and the rocks in the stream are really that orange. This is Ficky Run, arguably the most acid mine drainage impaired stream in all of West Virginia. Ficky Run flows into Martin Creek, which adds its own acid load to a larger stream called Muddy Creek, as it flows another 3.5 miles downstream to the Cheat River.
Below the mouth of Martin Creek, Muddy Creek is dead. There's absolutely no living organisms in Muddy Creek below Martin. Upstream of Martin Creek, roughly 12.2 miles, it's a viable fishery. We've got a healthy trout population, partly due to the stockings of a local hunting and fishing club upstream. But as I said, downstream is dead.
The contrast is stark. You can see it as the waters from Ficky Run and Martin Creek mix with the water in Muddy Creek. Acid mine drainage is formed when water and oxygen react chemically with iron sulfite that's found in the shales above and below coal seams. It's a common problem in this part of West Virginia.
Historically, the area has been mined for years. We've got mines that probably date back to early or late 1800s. So this area has been well over mined and unfortunately generated a lot of acid mine drainage.
As water percolates down through that sulfur-bearing material in and around the coal seam and infiltrates the mine pool, a chemical reaction causes acid to form. The water that flows out of the mine lowers the pH of any receiving stream it flows into, eventually killing all the aquatic life. As the pH drops, metals dissolved in the water begin to precipitate out. First, aluminum when the pH reaches around 5.5. And then, as the water becomes even more acidic, iron, with its characteristic rusty orange staining, begins to drop out. And that's why just downstream from the mouth of Martin Creek, this massive new water treatment facility, the TNT Fuels Project, is being built along the banks of Muddy Creek. Work at the site began in January. The goal of the project is to bring the lower section of the creek back to life, using a new approach to tackle an old problem.
And as part of that project, our staff in Special Reclamation started looking at opportunity to improve the watershed as a whole. So we'll be doing some treatment in stream, but in order to do that, we need to capture some of the acid mine drainage that's higher in the watershed so that we can treat it properly at the larger facility. So what we'll be doing is capturing some water from abandoned mine land seeps, and we will be carrying it through a pipeline about 2.5 miles downstream to the TNT facility for treatment.
And that's where Southwestern Energy comes into the picture. Southwestern is providing the funding to build the pipelines to the treatment plant and contributing to its future operation and maintenance costs. It's part of the company's Freshwater Neutral initiative.
Of course, water is very integral to what we do. So as part of our culture, really, we add value to the communities in which we operate. And that means sometimes economic value and environmental value too. So you look at water and how much water that we use in our operations, and wouldn't it be great to be freshwater neutral? And of course that comes from conservation and reuse and recycling of water. But it also comes from conservation offsets, which is where we add volumetric flow to the basins. And when I say freshwater neutral, it's not something that is, you know, some highfalutin mantra. It's measured and it's audited and it's real. So we will get credits for this additional water flow that we're adding to the basin here.
That works out to about 1,200 gallons per minute that will be piped into the treatment facility. Or to put that into perspective, enough acid-tainted water to fill the average home in-ground swimming pool in under 10 minutes. Once inside the plant, the water will be treated with a lime slurry to raise the pH, and then passed through 2 80-foot clarifiers that will remove all the metals. The treated water will then flow back into Muddy Creek, neutralized and free of metal contaminants.
The treatment facility that we're constructing right now is a much larger, more complex treatment facility than what we've used previously. And this is something unique that we have not tried in the past. And so we're very excited to see if we can be successful and utilize this program in some other watersheds.
In a year or two, this will be a viable fishery. We'll have fish migrating up from the Cheat River and down from the upper reaches of Muddy Creek. It'll increase the outdoor recreational opportunities, not only from a fishing standpoint, but from rafting and kayaking, possibly camping. So there's going to be a lot of opportunities just by cleaning up this watershed.
And it's that whole watershed approach that makes this project so different, picking up the acid mine drainage as it leaves the mine and before it has a chance to enter the stream.
Without doing that, without collecting both the AML or pre-law acid mine drainage, the project won't be a success. We're going to be recovering miles of stream rather than discharging compliant water into a dead stream. If you come back 5 years from now and we did not take this alternative approach, Muddy Creek would still be dead.
For us, the benefit of working with Southwestern is that we are able to get the cost of the pipeline construction covered, and also, as I mentioned, some operation and maintenance treatment of the water for a few years. It will actually help the Abandoned Mine Lands program a great deal, because they were going to be funding the treatment of the pre-law acid mine drainage waters, and this will kind of give them a little bit of a break on the cost for that to their program as well. So it will just enable us to probably do some more things in that watershed than what we could have done if we were just working on our own.
It's been quite a journey just out today tracing the source of it, right? We're like, oh look, those are orange rocks. Those rocks aren't supposed to be orange, and then we follow it and go, a little bit upstream and a little bit upstream, and it gets oranger and oranger and oranger, and of course no sign of any aquatic life anywhere. So it's disheartening really to see the condition of the stream, but it's also exciting to think, we can make it better.
In Preston County, I'm Mike Huff for Environment Matters.
The project is expected to be completed and online by the end of the year. Acid mine drainage isn't the only source of pollution affecting West Virginia streams. Far more common problems include nutrient loads and sediment, which affect streams throughout the state. A project along Tuscarora Creek in Berkeley County illustrates the problem and how the DEP and watershed groups like the Canaan Valley Institute work to correct it.
We did some investigation of the benthic community and found that the soils, the sediment that was collecting along the stream bed was really not allowing for the benthic community to become established. So the critters that like to live on the bottom really were not doing very well. So it was a pretty big problem. We also noticed that the banks were eroding pretty rapidly. So that was causing a lot of issues as well.
The Tuscarora Creek project involved redirecting the stream to bypass a small dam that was built in the early 1900s to irrigate an orchard. Left in place after it was no longer needed, it became a barrier for fish migration and a sediment trap, along with other problems.
The impacts of the dam were actually causing thermal impacts to the stream also. So this will help maybe lower the stream temperatures, and once the trees mature and create a canopy, it'll shade the stream and create a cooler water environment for some of the aquatic life.
Project managers say getting folks to see the connection between what happens on their property and how it affects things downstream is one of their main goals. How things like planting trees, adding rain gardens, and being careful when applying fertilizer can really add up.
We have seen, as we've been visiting this project, that There are a lot of fertilizer trucks driving in and out of this subdivision, and if you look on an aerial photo, there are these kind of hot spots on the landscape where human activity is probably causing more pollution than in other areas. And by focusing on those areas and hopefully reaching all the people in that community, that entire source of pollution can be stopped or lessened. So that's our hope, is that by targeting the outreach and the activities, that we'll get a critical mass and the pollution will be reduced enough.
Illegally dumped used tires are more than an eyesore. They're a health hazard and a fire hazard. A long-running DEP program is working to put an end to the problem, one used tire at a time. The DEP's Terry Fletcher has more.
Every year, beginning in the spring and continuing through the fall, the DEP holds a series of tire collections all across the state. They're held at least once in every county, and if the demand is high enough, sometimes more than once. Here in Wayne, the pace is steady. By the end of the day, workers will have collected several hundred used tires.
I'm glad to take advantage of it. It's great.
The program allows county residents to drop off as many as 10 tires free of charge. The collection is for car and light truck tires only, and tires should be off the rim. The tire collection is made possible in part by the DEP's REAP program, which brings together all the state's cleanup programs under one umbrella to maximize West Virginia's cleanup efforts. The program held 10 different collection events in the month of May alone.
I love it. We use it every year, trying to clean up the place. They build up after years and years and years, and it's a great way to bring a little bit in every year.
Tires improperly dumped in the open created a breeding ground for mosquitoes. Pile enough of them together and you've got a fire hazard. Probably most frustrating, it's a problem that shouldn't exist at all, since most tire dealers and garages will properly dispose used tires for a nominal fee. Still, people seem to be getting the message. At many volunteer cleanups, groups are reporting seeing fewer tires than in previous years, and one thing is clear. Dropping them off at a collection event like this one is a lot easier and certainly more environmentally friendly than pulling them out of a dump or dragging them out of a river. In Wayne, I'm Terry Fletcher for Environment Matters.
The DEP also has an active program of placing hidden cameras at suspected dump sites to catch illegal dumpers in the act and prosecute them to the full extent of the law. For a list of upcoming tire collection events, visit our website, dep.wv.gov. It was a day filled with music, local food, and a message of sustainability. The annual Huntington Sustainability Fair was held recently at the Wild Ramp in the city's West End. This is the third year for the festival and the second year here at the Wild Ramp. Organizers say one of the reasons for picking this location is it's in the heart of Huntington's antique and consignment district, and reuse is one of the 3 R's, as in reduce, reuse, and recycle, that are a key part of the sustainability movement.
Sustainability as a concept has been very successful in Huntington. It has grown, and the city of Huntington is really starting to adopt it. They have included a number of sustainable perspectives in their Plan 2025 for the city. They have a couple rain gardens, they have some permeable paths, and they're doing a lot to try to promote community interaction and activity in improving our town. And you can't have a sustainable community without direct community involvement.
We'd also like to give a shout out to the students taking part in the Raleigh County School Recycling Program, which held its annual awards presentation recently. Participating schools recycled a whopping 307 tons of recyclables during this past school year. Since the program began in 2001, students have recycled nearly 5,300 tons of material, earning the schools more than $212,000 in the process. This year's big winners were Trap Hill Middle School and Shady Spring Elementary School. Congratulations on a job well done. Finally, it's a DEP program that's older than the DEP itself, the Youth Environmental Program. For more than 50 years, the Youth Environmental Program has been encouraging young people of our state to participate in environmental projects in their communities. Their efforts were recently recognized at the annual Youth Environmental Day celebration at North Bend State Park. Youth Day features exhibits, a parade, and the presentation of awards and a $10,000 college scholarship. This year's winner was Timmy Eads. He is a senior at Buffalo High School and will be attending WVU in the fall. The Vasilio Scholarship pays $2,500 a year for 4 years. It's awarded every year by the Youth Environmental Program to a deserving high school senior who is enrolled in the program and who is involved in environmental activities that benefit the state and their community. The Vasilio family of Berkeley endows the scholarship because of their belief in the mission of the Youth Environmental Program. Thanks to them, and congratulations, Tim. We leave you now with the view from Cooper's Rock State Forest. On behalf of all of us here at the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
More than 800 people with one mission, promoting a healthy environment. We are the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection.